Hi, how are you guys? It's good to see you. I'm so glad that you've joined me again. This is Mrs. K in my music room, piano and organ. What? Wait, I get the feeling that you're really not looking at me. You're kind of like looking past me. What's got your attention? Oh, you see the toilet paper. I bet you've heard some grown-ups talking about all the other people that are hoarding toilet paper. The last time I went down the toilet paper aisle in a big grocery store, the shelves were bare. Did you ever imagine toilet paper would become so important to people? It's crazy, isn't it? Have you ever thought what it would be like without toilet paper? Ugh. Well, I need to tell you that toilet paper's been around a very long time. The first toilet paper was used 1,400 years ago, but it wasn't until the 1800s, about 1880, that makes it like 140 years ago, that the first toilet paper roll was invented, and we're still using this invention today. But seriously, if you went on a hike in the woods and you were far away from any bathroom, what would you use for toilet paper? Well, I don't know from experience, but some people have told me they use leaves. Imagine if you couldn't tell the difference between an oak tree leaf and those three shiny leaves of three that belong on a poison ivy plant. Oh, if you used the poison ivy leaves. That's just horrible to think about. Well, you might wonder, why in the world is Mrs. K talking about toilet paper? I'm glad you asked. In our story about David, we're going to learn about someone who was out in the middle of nowhere and needed to use the bathroom. Are you kidding, Mrs. K? Something like that is in the Bible? Yep. And you're going to learn all about it. Well, in our last video, we learned that in just one moment, David's perfect life changed. Once he had been the favorite go-to guy of the king, and then he became a target. We actually also learned that David had done nothing wrong to deserve such a treatment. But after that, it didn't get better. In fact, it got worse for David. He had to leave the palace where he had been living, and he had to say goodbye to his best friend, Prince Jonathan, and he had to leave his home and his country. David lived on the run for several years. And some men joined up with him, which was a really good idea, seeing that King Saul had his army out looking for David, trying to find him so that they could kill him. Imagine if you lived like that, you couldn't stay in one place for very long. And that was the case for David. Somebody was always ratting him out to King Saul. Oh, you can find David over here or over there. So the safe place that maybe David had been hiding then wasn't safe anymore. I'm pretty sure David just wanted this whole miserable thing to be done. He wanted his life back. The life he was living was not fun. So one time, David did find a really good hiding place. It was a cave. That's a good hiding place because when it's hot, you're nice and cool. And when it's raining, you don't get wet. And it was a big cave, so big that David and all his men could fit in there all the way in the very back. Well, that's where they were when somebody heard a sound. Shh, shh. What is that? It sounds like something or someone is coming into the cave. Shh. Oh, no. Maybe it's a bear. Let's go check it out. But we have to be really quiet. What they saw was incredible. You're not going to believe this. They had to be dying of laughter, but they couldn't make a sound. There was someone who had come into the cave to use it as a bathroom. Can you imagine a bunch of guys trying to keep quiet in a moment like that? David and at least one other guy decided to go a little closer. Let's see who's there. Oh my word. You wouldn't believe it. The guy using the cave as a bathroom was none other than King Saul. That's the same King Saul that had a whole army of soldiers outside trying to kill the guy that was in the back of the cave, David. One of David's men had a great idea. David, he said, this is the perfect opportunity to get rid of your enemy. He's been chasing you all over the place. He's not a nice person, and you're going to be the next king. So God has put him in your hands. Kill him and be done with it. David listened to the guy. This made sense. So very quietly, David, with his sword, sneaked up closer to where Saul was. But something felt very wrong. So he had his sword and he got closer. But he just cut off a chunk of Saul's robe and he crept back to where the men were hiding. Saul left the cave. I can imagine David's men had to be going nuts. What is wrong with you? God put Saul in your hands. It was the perfect opportunity to get rid of him and get your life back. But David felt very guilty. What did I almost do? King Saul is still the king that God chose. It's not my time yet, and it's not my place to act like God and remove him. And then David did the unbelievable. He went outside the cave and he yelled to get King Saul's attention. King Saul, I could have killed you, but I didn't. See, your robe is missing a piece. I have it. Here it is. Why are you trying to kill me? I have never wronged you. Saul literally cried. He said, oh, you're right. You've blessed me when you could have cursed me. I know someday you will be king. And Saul and his army left and went home. You can breathe. It's all better now, David. But David knew Saul would come after him again, so he didn't go home. Not to his country, not to his hometown, not to his family, not to his friends. He stayed on the run. All right, Mrs. K, this is a weird story. Saul was a rotten person, and David could have ended all the running and become king just like God said he would. It was the perfect opportunity, but he didn't end it. And he still had a hard life. This is just dumb. Correction. It looked like the perfect opportunity, but it wasn't what God wanted. If David would have killed Saul, he would have been guilty of murder. And the sixth commandment of the 10 commandments that God gave says, you shall not murder. And if the Bible says something's wrong, then it's wrong. A perfect opportunity doesn't change God's truth. So David's choice was a hard choice, but it was the right choice. David decided that he would rather have God's approval for doing the right thing than to make an easy choice and sin against God. All right, Mrs. K, how do I know if something is wrong or right? Or how do I know if it just looks right, but it isn't? That's pretty easy to answer. The Bible is the truth. The Bible tells the truth. Hebrews 5:14 says, solid food, which means the Bible, is for the mature, who by constant use, have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil. So, constantly use the Bible. Read it a lot. Study it a lot. Learn what the Bible says and do what the Bible says. You won't make the wrong choice, and God will be very proud of you, as will I. Bye-bye, guys.